My parents used my student loan payments to buy my brother a BMW and told me to stop being dramatic Reddit stories. What started as a casual confession unraveled years of financial manipulation and favoritism. By the time I checked my loan account, my future was already on the line. Hi. I'm Vinny, 23, second-year med student, full-time waiter, part-time financial hostage, apparently. The day everything detonated started with my dad tossing car keys across the kitchen table like he was hosting a giveaway. Your student loan payment, he said casually. I used it to buy your brother a BMW. I genuinely thought he was joking. I even laughed, that weird, confused inhale laugh people do right before trauma settles in. But the key fob hit the table with a solid clack. BMW logo facing up. Mocking me. My mother didn't even look up from dicing tomatoes. He needed a car, she said. And you can pay extra next month. Stop being dramatic, Vincent. They always save, Vincent, for when they're calling me ungrateful. Meanwhile, somewhere deep in my skull, a single number was banging on the walls. $3,400. Exactly what I transferred to Dad 2 days earlier. Third month in a row. All labeled loan payment. All promised to go straight to the lender. I refreshed my banking app under the table. Balance? Laughable. Humiliating. Barely enough to buy ramen, definitely not enough to cover the rent and the cardiology textbook my professor strongly recommended, like a threat. But I didn't yell. I didn't slam my hands on the table or ask how buying my brother a used BMW helped my credit report. I just said, okay. Went to my tiny room. Closed the door. Sat on the bed like someone had unplugged my spine. And in absolute silence I changed every banking password. Removed both parents from account access. Transferred every penny out of the family savings Dad insisted I keep. And opened my student loan portal for the first time in months. I hadn't expected balloons or confetti. Just confirmation that Dad had been paying the loan he swore, loudly, often, was handled. What I got instead was a red warning screen big enough to be a billboard. Delinquent, 90 days past due. Immediate action required. My throat tightened. My scalp tingled. My future blinked like a dying battery. Then I did the thing my parents feared most in this world. I told. Not to Grandma. Not to a therapist. To the loan company. I attached screenshots of every transfer label, loan payment, every memo line, every date. Then I wrote a single sentence. I believe my payments were misused. No emotion. No story. Just a spark dropped into a room full of gasoline. And by the time the investigation started, the real crash wasn't on the road. It was in my family's kitchen. 2 hours after Dad dropped the BMW bomb, Leo pulled into the driveway like he was auditioning for a music video. The car wasn't even impressive, 8 years old, dull paint, one foggy headlight, but the way he revved the engine twice before turning it off. Royal entrance. He stepped out wearing gray joggers, designer sneakers I definitely paid for at some point, and his university hoodie. Flipping his hair like the neighbors were filming. Dad beamed like he just cured a disease. See? He shouted through the open window. Told you I'd sort it. A man needs a good car. A man. Right. Leo was 19 and still thought deodorant was optional on weekends. Mom leaned toward the window, eyes shining with pride. Your brother's finally going to look respectable on campus, she said. Then she looked me up and down, thrift store jeans, restaurant-stained t-shirt, and added, maybe one day you will too, when you stop being so tight-fisted. My phone vibrated. Low balance alert. Great timing. Leo burst inside, spinning the keys. Vinny! Dude! You have to hear the sound system in this thing. Bluetooth and everything. I stared at him. It's paid off, I said. And it runs. But Leo wasn't listening. Leo never listened. Not to anyone who didn't financially benefit him. Dad swung open the fridge like he owned the universe. Anyway, he said, we're all making sacrifices. We'll catch up on your loan next month. Don't go whining to your little bank app. And that's when it happened. Not anger. Not panic. Just a clean internal snap, something subtle, silent, permanent. The kind of snap bones make when they finally set in the right direction after being wrong for years. They went on with their day, laughing, admiring Leo's new ride, planning upgrades like they'd won the lottery. Meanwhile, in my room, I opened every receipt, every transfer, every lie I'd ignored. I looked back at the dishwasher. Emergency. Mom used my entire savings for. The trip deposit Dad accidentally charged to my card. The insurance increase from when Leo got added to my policy. For experience. All the times I paid and paid and paid, and they said, "You'll bounce back. You're young. Your brother needs this more. Stop keeping score." Except suddenly, I wasn't keeping score. I was gathering evidence. And when the student loan portal finally reset my password and let me in, the screen was red enough to qualify me for trauma counseling. Delinquent, 90 days. Next step, collections. I stared at it until the numbers blurred. Then something inside me, the part that used to try to impress them, to earn their approval, to shrink so Leo could shine, died cleanly and without ceremony. I wasn't the golden child. I wasn't even the backup child. I was the funding source. And the funding source was done. By the time dinner was being plated in the kitchen, I had sent the email that detonated my family's financial mythology. The loan company responded faster than any relative ever had. "Thank you for reporting potential misuse. A case has been opened." I closed my laptop. And for the first time in my life, I felt like someone was finally on my side. I thought the real explosion would happen when the loan company called my parents. I was wrong. It happened when I confronted them, and by confronted, I mean, stated one fact in a normal tone and detonated the entire household. It was after dinner. Leo was outside taking photos of himself with the BMW at golden hour like the car was a co-star. Mom was packing leftovers into containers, the ones she never returned when I brought food home from work. Dad sat at the table scrolling through sports scores, relaxed, proud, oblivious. I stood in the doorway. "I logged into my loan account," I said. Mom didn't look up. Dad didn't flinch. "It's 90 days past due." Dad sighed heavily, annoyed. "I told you, glitch. They send scary emails to keep you compliant. Stop obsessing." "No," I said. I checked the payment history. There aren't any payments from the last 3 months. But there are charges from our joint account to the dealership. That got his eyes off the phone. Just for a second. Then the familiar face returned, irritation mixed with parental superiority. "We'll fix it next month," he snapped. "Stop acting like we robbed a bank. It's our money too. You live here for free." "I pay rent," I said quietly. Mom laughed, actual laughter. "Oh, that little bit? That doesn't even cover your share." Dad shook his head, disappointed in the child who dared question the hand that fed him crumbs. "You think because you're in med school you understand finances? Son, I've been managing money longer than you've been alive." "Yeah," I said. "I noticed." He stood abruptly. "You listen to me, Vincent. This is a family arrangement. If your money goes to helping your brother, that is a family decision. I never agreed to it." "You didn't have to," Mom said sharply. "We are your parents. We get to decide what's best." And that, right there, was the moment the room split open. Not the BMW. Not the stolen loan payments. Not the delinquency. It was that sentence. "We get to decide what's best." For a moment, no one breathed. Dad leaned closer, squaring up like I was a misbehaving employee instead of his son. "You're going to email the loan company back," he said. "You're going to tell them it was a misunderstanding. You're going to say you gifted us that money. And you're going to stop this nonsense before it ruins us. No. The word came out calm and clean. Both of them froze. Dad blinked. What did you just say? No, I repeated. Mom's mouth fell open. Vincent, we raised you. We sacrificed for you. If you throw us under the bus. You used my loan payments, I said. You lied about paying. You bought Leo a car. That's fraud. This time, Dad didn't yell. He whispered, if you keep pushing this, if you embarrass us with some investigation, don't expect us to be there for you when things get hard. I looked at both of them, really looked. At the entitlement. At the certainty that I would fold. At the belief that love meant obedience. And I finally understood. They weren't afraid I would ruin them. They were afraid I would stop letting them ruin me. I never had your help, I said softly. Just your bills. Dad pointed toward the door. Get out, he said. If you're going to betray your family, get out of my house. I nodded once. Okay. Mom lunged forward. Don't you dare walk out, Vincent! Don't you dare leave like a... But I was already heading to my room. Already pulling out my duffel. Already packing the life I'd built on scraps. Leo walked in as I zipped the bag. Bro, seriously? You're doing too much. Enjoy the car, I said. And I meant it. Let them keep the BMW. Let them keep the stories they told themselves. I wasn't the family's safety net anymore. I wasn't the second priority. I wasn't the quiet son in the background. I was the storm they created. And I was finally leaving. I moved out that night. Not dramatically, no slammed doors, no screaming hallway showdown. Just the soft click of the front door behind me as I stepped into the humid dark with a duffel bag and a future that was suddenly, terrifyingly, mine. I stayed on a friend's couch for the first few days, the kind of couch where one wrong turn puts you face first into a stack of anthropology flashcards. But it was safe. And no one could siphon my money from the living room couch. 2 days after sending my email, the loan company called. Not a robocall. A real human voice, fraud department. Her badge ID was Denise, and she sounded like she'd heard every kind of awful family money situation known to mankind. Mr. Romano, she said gently, from the screenshots you provided, it appears you made the payments. That helps your case significantly. My parents took them, I said. I expected embarrassment. Pity. Judgment. Denise simply exhaled like she'd seen this movie before. You'd be surprised how often this happens. We're pausing all collection activity while we investigate. No more late fees. No credit damage while this is ongoing. I closed my eyes, relief breaking over me like a wave. And from now on, she added, all payments will come directly from your account, yes? Yes, I said. Direct. No middlemen. Good, she said. Protect yourself, Mr. Romano. Meanwhile, back at my parents' house, my phone was lighting up like a fire alarm. Missed calls. Voicemails. Texts in the family group chat, the ones I hadn't blocked yet. Dad. Call me now. This is serious. Mom. What did you tell the loan company? They asked me questions. Do you know how humiliating this is? Dad again. Undo it. Tell them you misunderstood. Fix this. Leo. Bro, Mom's losing it. Dad punched the cabinet. The car is fine though. Of course, that was his priority. Then came the message that made me sit down on the sidewalk outside the hospital, heartbeat hammering. Mom. The loan company asked us why you reported misuse of funds. Did you actually tell them we stole from you? We are your parents. You're going to ruin us. I typed one reply. I sent them the truth. Dad responded instantly. You ungrateful little. Blocked. All of them. Silence never felt so clean. But the investigation didn't end with silence. 3 days later, I got a call from the bank linked to the joint account I had emptied. Mr. Romano, we've received a fraud inquiry regarding irregular transfers from your account. We need clarification. My stomach dropped. What kind of irregular? The representative cleared her throat. We spoke to your father, who claims he had full authorization to use the funds you transferred. However, the memo lines you included, such as loan payment June, loan payment July, loan payment August, contradict his statement. So, what happens? We need your statement formally on file. If it matches the documentation, the bank may freeze the account and open a recovery case. Translation. My parents had officially become a financial liability. I gave my statement. Every detail. Every transfer. Every lie. When I hung up, I sat on the edge of my borrowed bed and realized something. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about reality. About whose story would stand. About who had receipts. Spoiler. I did. And then Mom sent a message that told me everything. A new number I didn't recognize texted me, clearly a burner account or my aunt's phone. Vincent. You have disgraced this family. Your actions are selfish and vindictive. We will tell everyone you stole from us. I stared at it for a long time. Then typed back. Tell them whatever helps you sleep. I'm done covering for you. Block. In the weeks that followed, my loan was officially placed into borrower in good standing pending investigation. My credit was restored. My payment plan was reset. And for the first time since this entire disaster started, I could breathe. I worked. Studied. Lived in a crappy apartment with flickering lights. Everything I had was mine. Everything I didn't have was theirs. And I wanted it exactly that way. The confrontation didn't happen with fists pounding on my door or a dramatic showdown in a parking lot. It started with a knock. Soft. Quick. Familiar. I opened my studio door expecting one of my neighbors complaining about the noise from my busted radiator. Instead, Leo. Wearing pajama pants, flip-flops, and a look like he just watched someone steal his future. He slipped inside without asking, glanced around my tiny studio, nose wrinkling like he smelled poverty. Dude, he whispered. Mom is losing her mind. Dad too. They said you're trying to get them arrested. Did they tell you what they did? He hesitated. That half-second pause told me everything he knew, and everything he didn't want to admit. They said, he began slowly. It was a misunderstanding. Like, yeah, they used your loan money for the car and stuff, but they always planned to pay it back. You made it sound like they're criminals. I sat on the edge of my bed, the room so small I could reach my kitchen by stretching my foot. They committed fraud, Leo. That's not my interpretation. That's the bank's wording. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. You could have just talked to them. You didn't have to go to the loan company. I did talk to them. I reminded him. For months. Every time I asked, they told me to stop being dramatic. He stopped pacing. You messed everything up, he said quietly. Dad said if this goes on, we're screwed. The investigation could freeze the mortgage account. And Mom says she might lose her job if this hits her background check. So now it's my fault they stole from me? He swallowed hard. You didn't have to make it public. They made it public the second they used my loan money and let it go delinquent. He blinked fast, like he was processing that sentence at half speed. Then he blurted what he had really come for. Can you? I don't know, just tell them you made a mistake? That you misread the loan stuff? The car's already bought. What's the point now? There it was. The same pattern. Everything they did became my responsibility to undo. I'm not lying for them. I said. You're ruining our family. No, I corrected. I'm refusing to be ruined by our family. Leo stared at me like he didn't recognize me. The version of me he knew would have folded by now, apologized, handed over whatever cash I had left. This is messed up. He muttered. You're acting like some victim. I am the victim. Bullshit. You're being dramatic, just like Mom said. I laughed, sharp, humorless. Leo, I'm 90 days delinquent on a federal loan because Dad stole the money to buy you a car. That's not drama. That's math. He looked away. I didn't ask for the car, he said softly. No, I agreed. You just accepted it. That's the family specialty. Silence stretched between us. Then he asked the question that cracked something inside me, not because it hurt, but because of how obvious the answer was. Do you even care what happens to us? I looked him dead in the eyes. I care enough to stop you all from sinking my life to keep yours afloat. He flinched. Then, like a kid unable to handle consequences, he pivoted to anger. You're pathetic. You think anyone's gonna help you after you betrayed your own parents? Good luck. I opened the door. He stared. You're kicking me out? You showed up to guilt me, not apologize. I'm not doing this. He scoffed, brushed past me, and stepped into the hallway. Before leaving, he turned back. You're gonna regret this. I already regret not doing it sooner. He shook his head, heading down the stairs. I closed the door. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. Free like oxygen after drowning. Free like waking up without debt collectors circling. Free like hearing my own voice and trusting it. What I didn't know yet, what none of us knew, was that Leo running home would trigger the kind of family detonation people whisper about for decades. Because my parents didn't just panic. They went nuclear. And the investigation? It was about to pull every one of their secrets into the light. The investigation didn't start with a bang. It started with a letter taped to my parents' front door. A plain white envelope with the loan company's logo in the corner, and 3 words printed in bold across the top. Required response, fraud review. Leo sent me a picture of it at 6:12 p.m. No text. No emojis. Just the photo. 5 minutes later he followed with, Bro, you should see Mom RN. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because while they were just starting to feel the heat, I'd already been through the worst of it. But for them? This was the beginning of their collapse. A firestorm in the kitchen. Leo told me later how it went down. Dad ripped the envelope open at the kitchen counter, scanned the first page, and went sheet white. Mom grabbed the papers from him and started reading out loud. Investigation into misappropriated funds. Possible fraudulent redirection. Formal request for account statements and testimony. And then the one that broke her. All involved parties may be contacted individually for clarification. Leo said Mom's hands started shaking so badly the page rattled like tinfoil. Dad snapped. This is his fault. He ratted us out. Mom rounded on him instantly. You told him to send the money through us. You said you'd handle it. You're the one who pushed the damn car idea. Because you said we'd fix it. Oh great, now it's my fault you can't manage money. Shut up, both of you. Leo finally shouted. They did. For the first time in his life, they actually listened to him. Because he wasn't crying or whining or begging. He was terrified. Are we gonna, could they really charge us? Dad dropped into a chair. Hard. They won't charge us if Vincent retracts the claim. Mom nodded too fast. Yes. That's what we do. We tell them it was all a misunderstanding. Family mix-up. Then Dad said the line that made Leo realize the truth. He'll cave. He always caves. But not this time. The calls started. At 7:23 p.m., my phone buzzed. Vincent. Call me now. We need to fix this as a family. This is not the time for your dramatics. Then Dad. Dad. You need to handle this mess you made. Dad. You will call the company tomorrow and tell them you authorized the withdrawals. Dad. Do not ruin this family over a used CAR. Then. Leo. Bro, please answer. They're freaking out. I didn't answer any of them. At 8:41 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then it buzzed again. Same number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Vincent? Not Mom. Not Dad. The voice was low, shaky. My Aunt Carla. Aunt Carla? Oh, thank God. Your mother called me sobbing, saying you dragged them into some kind of criminal investigation. Honey, what is happening? I told her everything. The missing payments. The BMW. The bank account. The threats. The final shove out the door. She went quiet for a long moment. Then, Vincent, I believe you. She asked for the loan emails. The screenshots. I sent everything. Within 15 minutes, she called back. Her voice was sharp now, ice, not confusion. They stole from you. Yes. And they want you to cover for them. Yes. Oh, absolutely not. She exhaled so hard the phone crackled. I've known your father for 40 years and I've never seen him pull something this disgusting. My throat tightened. A weird mix of relief and grief. Because finally, someone in the family believed me. And someone wasn't willing to rewrite the story to protect them. Vincent, she said, do not retract that investigation. Not 1 inch. They did this to themselves. The family group chat erupts. At 9:12 p.m., my aunt dropped a bombshell message into the group chat. Aunt Carla. For the record, Vincent didn't betray anyone. He is correcting a situation you created. Taking his loan money was theft. Using it on a vehicle for one child while endangering the other's credit is abuse. If anyone should be ashamed, it's not him. Then, Aunt Carla. And if you call him ungrateful again, I will say more. The group chat went silent. Completely silent. No one. Not Mom. Not Dad. Not Leo. Not the cousins. Not a single person responded. Because she was the one person in the family they all feared for her honesty. And for the first time ever, that honesty was aimed at them. Not me. The last message of the night. At 11:58 p.m., one final text came in. From Leo. Just 4 words. You were right, bro. I stared at my phone. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the problem. I felt like the only person in the room who wasn't insane. The investigation didn't creep forward. It detonated. On a Wednesday morning at 9:14 a.m., while I was in the hospital stairwell drinking burnt coffee between rounds, my phone buzzed with a number I recognized instantly. My loan company's fraud division. I stepped into an empty alcove and answered. Vincent Blake? Yes. This is Carla Ramirez with Borrow Right Fraud Prevention. I'm calling to inform you that we've completed the first stage of our review. My stomach clenched. She continued, voice steady, professional, almost gentle. I'll be direct with you. Based on the documents you sent us, it appears you did everything correctly on your end. The delinquency does not appear to be your fault. I closed my eyes. Relief flooded so fast it made me dizzy. Then she said something I didn't expect. We contacted the co-account holders, your parents, to request verification. Oh no. And Mr. Blake, your father, told us that he personally spent the loan payments on your younger brother's vehicle. He also said you wouldn't mind and that your complaints were an overreaction. My eyes snapped open. He admitted that? Yes, she said. And he repeated it several times. I didn't breathe for a moment. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or collapse. Carla continued. We informed him that using federal loan funds for anything other than their intended purpose constitutes misuse and potential fraud. I swallowed. What did he say to that? He told us, and I quote, "It's all one family. You people need to calm down." Of course he did. Dad's lifelong belief system summarized in one sentence. Family money is his money. My money is family money. Family consequences are not his problem. Carla exhaled softly before continuing. At this stage, we will be removing the delinquency from your record and adjusting your payment status. You will not be penalized. Thank God. But, she added, we are escalating the misuse of funds to our legal department. You may be contacted for a statement. My pulse kicked. For a legal case? It's routine, she assured me. But given your father's admission, they will likely pursue it. I thanked her. Hung up. Stared at the wall for a long time. And that's when the text started. Dad, Stage 1 rage? 10:02 a.m. Dad. What did you say to them? Dad. They're threatening legal action. Fix this now. Dad. Call them back and tell them you approved it. Dad. I swear to God, Vincent, if you put me in legal trouble. He called. 6 times. I didn't answer. MOM, Stage 2, weaponized guilt. 10:17 a.m. MOM. How could you do this? Your father is shaking. Elio is scared out of his mind. We might lose the car. We might get sued. Do you want to destroy this family? 10:18 a.m. MOM. Your brother has midterms tomorrow. How is he supposed to study with all this stress? I didn't respond. Because Leo had stressed me out for years. And they never cared. Leo, Stage 3, the crack. 10:26 a.m. Leo. Bro. Dad's losing it. He's yelling at Mom. He said you're selfish and ungrateful, but... 10:27 a.m. Leo. You're not wrong. I know you're not. He paused. 10:27 a.m. Leo. Please don't let them blame me. I didn't know he took your loan money. For once, the golden child told the truth. The confrontation. At 7 p.m. that night they called again. But this time, I answered. Dad didn't waste breath. You fix this, he barked. You tell them you gave me permission. No, I said. You think you're some big man now? He sneered. You think your little med school loans make you smarter than me? No, I repeated. I think taking someone's loan money and lying about it makes you a thief. Silence. Pure, stunned silence. Then, a thief? He exploded. I am your father. Everything I do is for this family. You stole from me. That money benefited your brother. That wasn't your decision to make. It was a family decision. I am the family member who took out the loan, I said calmly. If you wanted to reallocate my future into Leo's BMW, you should have asked. Mom cut in then, voice shaking. Vincent, please. We could go to court. They might garnish our wages. They might. I didn't raise my volume. I didn't lose my temper. I spoke the truth like a diagnosis. You did this to yourselves. Dad scoffed. You seriously think we'll let you destroy us over a little paperwork mistake? It wasn't a mistake. What the hell would you call it then? A pattern. They went silent again. So I spelled it out. You used my emergency fund. You used my rent money. You used my savings. You used my student loan payments. Every year of my life you have taken from me, called it family duty, and then insulted me when I noticed. Mom's breath hitched. Dad growled. Ungrateful little. I hung up. I blocked them. For the first time, I felt oxygen in my lungs. 3 hours later. Leo texted. Leo. They're losing it. Dad threw his coffee mug at the wall. Mom said Vincent betrayed us. I told them they betrayed you. A pause. Leo. They told me to leave the room. That's how I know I was right. Another pause. Leo. I don't know what's happening anymore. But you're actually the only adult in this family. I thought the worst had already happened. I thought the BMW, the lies, the investigation, and the cracked voice on the other end of the phone were the peak of the disaster. I was wrong. The real implosion began 3 days later, when the loan company's legal department sent their official findings. And unlike the earlier letters, clinical, procedural, almost polite, this one had teeth. The letter that ended the illusion. It was emailed to me at 8:03 a.m. CC'd, my parents. BCC'd, a compliance officer whose job title was so long it read like a threat. The subject line: Findings, misappropriation of borrower funds. I clicked it open in the hospital cafeteria, still wearing my scrubs, sipping coffee that tasted like burned cardboard. The first sentence made my heart stop. We have determined that the borrower, Vincent Blake, attempted to make 3 consecutive payments which were intercepted and used for personal expenditures by third parties. Intercepted? Used for personal expenditures. Third parties. They weren't even trying to soften the language. And then, the line that would detonate whatever was left of my family. The actions of Mr. and Mrs. Blake constitute misuse of federal loan funds and fall under federal review. Federal review. I reread it twice. 3 times. Then the next line. We have removed all delinquency markers from the borrower's credit. All negative reporting will be reversed. Relief hit me like a punch, sharp, painful, real. Then came the line that took my relief and mixed it with something heavier. We may request further testimony from the borrower should this matter escalate. My phone buzzed. Mom. I didn't answer. I hadn't answered in days. But then it buzzed again, and kept buzzing. I sighed and answered the next call without looking. Before I could speak, Leo's voice crashed into my ear. Bro, what did you do? The house went nuclear. I could hear yelling in the background. Not the usual bickering, not the passive-aggressive sniping they used instead of communication. Real yelling. Panicked. Ugly. What's going on? I asked. Leo didn't pause. They got the letter. Dad screaming at Mom. Mom screaming at Dad. They're blaming each other. They're blaming you. Dad's saying you set them up. I didn't. I know you didn't. Leo snapped. But they're losing it. In the background. Mom's voice, shrill and cracking. This is a criminal letter, Richard. Federal review. Do you understand what that means? Dad roaring. He could have fixed this if he wasn't such a selfish little. A door slammed hard enough I heard it through the phone. Leo's breath shook. Bro. I think they're scared. Like actually scared. Good. I said before I could stop myself. Leo didn't argue. The group chat erupts again. At 8:26 a.m., my phone vibrated nonstop. How could you let it get this far? Tell them it was a mistake. You are ruining our lives. Dad. You fix this or I swear you are no son of mine. Then, unexpectedly. Aunt Carla. Stop blaming Vincent. I've read the letter. You two brought this on yourselves. Aunt Carla. You misused federal funds. That is a crime. Be grateful he hasn't lawyered up. Silence. Then, Cousin Lisa. Wait, you guys really used his loan money on a car for Leo? Uncle Dave. That's illegal as hell. Cousin Marion. Vincent, if you need somewhere to stay, our guest room is open. And finally, Grandma. This family is embarrassed because of Richard and Elaine. Not Vincent. Stop attacking him. That made me sit up straight. Grandma never texted. She typed like she was stabbing each letter into the phone with a knitting needle. But she chose my side. And that changed the entire group dynamic instantly. The call that shook me. At 3:42 p.m., my phone buzzed with a FaceTime request. Leo. I answered. The screen shook. He was walking. Fast. His voice was low, urgent. I'm leaving the house. What happened? He turned the camera toward the living room. Dad was pacing in circles, red-faced, ranting at Mom. Mom was crying but still yelling back. Papers were scattered across the coffee table, the printed letter. Leo flipped the camera back to himself. They said the loan company might ask me to give a statement. My breath caught. And? I asked quietly. I'm gonna tell the truth, he said. He looked terrified. But determined. They keep saying you betrayed the family, he continued. But bro, they betrayed you. And they dragged me into it. I'm not lying for them. Something in my chest cracked open, grief, relief, pride, all tangled up. Where are you going? I asked. Leo shrugged with one shoulder, looking suddenly older than he had that morning. To stay with Aunt Carla for a while. A beat. Then softer. I'm sorry, man. I should have said something sooner. You're saying something now, I said. That matters. He nodded. Then, I don't want to end up like them. The call ended. I sat in silence for a long time, feeling the weight of every moment that brought us here. This wasn't the finale. Not even close. But for the first time, someone else in that house had stepped out of the script. And the cracks were turning into fractures. I didn't hear from my parents for 48 hours. Not one call. Not one text. Not a guilt-tripping voicemail. Not even a passive-aggressive Bible verse from Mom, which was her nuclear option. Silence. At first I thought, maybe they've finally calmed down. Maybe they're finally realizing they crossed the line. But no. The silence wasn't peace. It was pressure building. I found out exactly how much when my phone lit up at 7:22 p.m. on Saturday with a single message from Mom. We need to talk. Just you and me. Please. That please was suspicious. Mom used it the same way a snake uses camouflage. Still, I agreed, on neutral territory. The hospital cafeteria. Bright. Public. Cameras everywhere. I wasn't stupid. The motherly act. Mom walked in wearing her church face. Soft smile. Sad eyes. Arms outstretched like she was auditioning for the role of concerned parent in a community play. Vincent, she whispered, pulling me into a hug I didn't return. You look tired. Working 2 jobs and carrying med school debt will do that, I said flatly. She flinched. We sat. Mom didn't waste time. Honey, your father and I have been talking. We want to make this right. I raised an eyebrow. Do you? Yes, she said quickly. Too quickly. We will pay back the loan company. Every cent. I stared at her. It was the first time she'd ever offered repayment for anything in her life. But then, she hesitated. And that told me there was a catch. I waited. Mom looked down at her hands, twisting her wedding ring. But we need you, she said softly, to withdraw your complaint. There it was. The catch. I didn't file a complaint. I corrected. I reported a delinquency. The fraud department escalated it on their own. Then unescalated. She snapped. I can't. You won't. She corrected, eyes sharpening. I didn't speak. She leaned forward. Honey, your father is worried sick. He barely ate yesterday. He had no trouble eating when he spent my loan payments. Her expression cracked. Then she tried another tactic, one she knew used to work on me. Her voice softened into that wounded, fluttering whisper she weaponized when logic failed her. Vincent, sweetheart, we are your parents. Doesn't that mean anything? I met her eyes. Yes, I said. It means you should have protected me. Not endangered my future for a car. She inhaled sharply through her nose. Then she dropped the act entirely. You're throwing your family away over a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. You're choosing to destroy us. No, I said. I'm choosing not to let you destroy me. Mom's expression iced over. The warmth vanished. The worry vanished. And the real version of her slid into place like a mask being peeled back. I'm giving you one last chance, she said quietly. Withdraw your statements or what? Her eyes glittered. Or your father will file a claim saying you stole the money. I sat back, stunned. He'd commit a second fraud to cover the first one. She didn't blink. We are willing to do what we have to. For a long moment either of us spoke. Then I smiled. Really smiled. Because I remembered something. When the loan company called him, I said, He admitted on a recorded line that he spent the payments. Mom's face strained of color. They record customer service calls, I continued. Everything he said is logged in their system. I watched the realization hit her like a freight train. And, I added softly, I asked the rep to email me a summary of the call. Mom's lips parted. No sound came out. Her hands were trembling. You wouldn't use that against us. I already did, I said. They have it on file. She stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly across the floor. Dad hadn't just stolen my loan money, he'd used my name on the BMW financing. Identity theft. A felony. When the dealership confirmed it, the room spun so hard I had to sit down. Leo's voice trembled through the phone. Bro, they were never going to tell you. I stared at the wall, heartbeat like a drum. This wasn't a family mess anymore. This was criminal. And for the first time, I knew exactly what I had to do next.